Hi, thank you. I actually will do this in English, but first I have to say I think this is a live feed here. Hi to my wife and my kid. And Rocky took my charger for laptop, and Daddy can't write scream it anymore, so return it. My name is Petrit Selimi. I run MFK, Millennium Foundation Kosovo, which is a outfit established by MCC, quite famous here in Kosovo now, and Government of Kosovo to implement projects in good governance and energy. This talk, though, will not be so much about MFK and MCC, but maybe there'll be some snippets, stories. Imagine it like a 4 Rooms of Tarantino, the film, in which I will try to bring some images from my past work with current political and cultural references, and maybe to come to some sort of discussion about, or thinking about dichotomy between daring and not daring. This is about daring, and certainly there's a lot of talk about daring now. There are people in Ukraine who are daring to oppose and to fight for liberation, just like we dared to have that type of dream 25, 26 years ago, 30 years ago. There's a different type of daring as well. You have Matt Damon saying, be brave, and fortune favors the brave, encouraging you to invest in crypto. That didn't work very well. A lot of people shouldn't get financial advice from Matt Damon. But certainly in Kosovo, there's a lot of willingness and a lot of push and a lot of people who have really been brave. People, my speakers after me have been far braver than I have ever been in my life. Brave to put, to talk the talk, but also walk the walk, to put the money where the mouth is, and to ensure that there are jobs, investments, opportunities for people beyond their immediate surrounding. I will start, though, with one image, and I'll come back to this image. Some of you may know it, some of you may not know it, and just have it here, and then we'll come back towards the end of it. When I worked in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, obviously, as a fledgling young republic, you do need to dare quite a bit, you know, chasing the recognitions. Now, one of the front page news, as you see, is our application to Council of Europe. And though I don't deal anymore with politics and daily politics, I like to follow, obviously, just like all of you. And it does take certain guts to apply for organizations, especially when friends say, don't do that. I remember at a time when we were sort of working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there was like a dearth and recognitions were lacking. The big countries finished, and we were chasing in Haiti, Mozambique, you know, across Africa, Asia, Caribbean, and things were slowing down in terms of bilateral recognition. But it was important that we also get other types of recognition in this day and age. How do you get recognized? How do you ensure that when you dare to do something new, it gets noticed in the world? Sahani is here, our friend, as well as a lot of other people in this IT community, technology community, that realize that actually our integration, our ability to dare to chase our dreams is being hampered by our inability to connect. Kosovo was not visible on Facebook, was not visible on Twitter. You couldn't really put drop-down menu on any of the big social media. Thus, you couldn't really advertise in social media. And we sent application for Kosovo to become a member of Facebook. I remember the talk that we had with Directors for Europe down in Dublin, where they run Facebook for Africa, Europe. And they're saying, well, you know, we're not really a political organization, and why don't you go first to UN and do this and do that? And we were thinking how, you know, we dared, we made a move, but I think beyond daring, you have to also do a little bit of research. And we really used the opportunity to highlight a business of a young Kosovo woman who's selling soaps, and told the story of how she cannot actually advertise only in Kosovo for her homemade soaps, because there's no possibility to micro-target or to ensure that advertising, limited money that she has, goes to correct community. And that sort of rang the bell for them, and they said, oh, well, no, that makes sense. And lo and behold, unexpectedly, New York Times put it on the front page, Kosovo, a new type of recognitions, became nation on Facebook. Washington Post, BBC, carried on the front pages, Slate magazine, one of my favorite portals, you know, like silly titles, Facebook recognizes Kosovo. It showed that in this day and age, multilateral organizations, UN, Council of Europe, NATO, are very important, mind you, but how many people here care about Partnership for Peace? How many people know what does Venice Commission actually do of Council of Europe? But how many of you are on TikTok, Instagram, or any of the social media? How many of your businesses, your interactions, how you talk, how you get your information is dependent on us being recognized also by these guys? So that was one thing that I think we have to continue doing. That politics is not anymore politics as usual. That we have to really ensure that both on economic side, on cultural side, mind you, which I think is very important, as well as technology, we dare to become part of bigger families. We cannot allow, it's a luxury that we don't have to be isolated. Small countries cannot be, small nations cannot be isolated. Our language is too small. Our country is too small. Our economy is too small. So without us being able to really embrace and ensure that we dare to have trust on bigger communities, bigger families, and to do everything possible to join them, I think we'll be kind of stuck in the space and the time continuum. I will show one image, which is also my favorite, daring. I dared once. I used to work for IPCO a long time ago, many years ago, as a communications director before they became sort of telecom. And IPCO leaders came to me and said, Petrit, you're working comms. We are launching the mobile telephony. How do we advertise? Where do we put the money? Which TV channels? Koha Ditore, Koha KTV, TV21? And I said, don't do it. Don't do media buying. Bring somebody. Bring somebody in Kosovo, because we never had concerts. It's 2007. We are not independent yet. A lot of you are probably in primary school or maybe in kindergarten at that point. But in 2007, we didn't have electricity, frankly. Infrastructure was more or less non-existent. And it's like, why would we do a concert? And I said, well, concert because you need to feel part of something bigger. Bring people somebody so they see that when you're coming to the market, you're bringing something else. And they trusted me foolishly, but in 3 weeks we organized in the city stadium a 50-cent concert. He came here. The ticket costed 50 cents, but it was attached to the ticket. The SIM card was attached to the ticket. So 50 cent ticket. It was the fastest entry in the market of a GSM provider in history of Europe. 35% market share in less than 4 or 5 weeks, because of word of mouth, this fantastic time when people had there, and sort of showed that Kosovo is opening a new chapter. BBC again reported on it. It was front page on CNN because it was like odd story. Firi in Kosovo, it didn't really make sense because we were still sort of considered like a war-torn country. Yet, after that, we went on with my team. We worked. We did the concerts of Morchiba, Manu Chao, Nouvelle Vague, if you have been in some of them. And I do think that one feature that is still missing today is how to be able to get that triangle between economy, culture, experience, diversity, and social developments in Kosovo. I will go back a little bit to the first point. Well, actually, culture, yes. Nathan Coley, A Place Beyond Belief, a fantastic piece of work which was by the Unfinished Church in the city center. And we dared to invite him. This is a very famous Turner Prize winner who was in Kosovo and said, why don't you bring something for Kosovo? And he had a beautiful neon light piece. There is no place like this. But then he came here and said, well, this is kind of strange country. Not Finnish, really. Are you Muslims? Are you not Muslims? Are you Europeans? Are you not Europeans? Are you really a country? You're not country? So it sort of drew some inspiration from him, and we did this art piece. And I'm a big fan of contemporary arts. And I think for everybody in Kosovo, they're very lucky to have Documenta coming, Manifesta, coming this summer. But this was one of the moments in which, in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we sort of dared to add more culture in the public diplomacy. Now, well, yeah, to dare, you also fail sometimes. I did fail with my team on our UNESCO bid. We almost got 2/3 of all the votes. By 2 single votes, we didn't manage to make our country as a member of UNESCO. I was devastated, probably didn't speak with anybody for the next 6 months, and was a dark moment. But with daring, there is also some failure. Yet again, I go back to this not daring, dichotomy between daring and not daring. There must be some data at one point behind daring. It can be just a foolish movement forward without really understanding what are the basis for your decision. At Millennium Foundation Kosovo, my team and a lot of people, good people in Kosovo, in the government, in the civil society, in the United States, US Congress, we signed an agreement 7 years ago, a threshold agreement. This is where we work now, which was meant to help Kosovo bridge the gap between electricity production and electricity demand, increasing and widening the gap. We also looked at these issues related to government transparency, rule of law. So we did a big constraints analysis. It was a Harvard model in which you really talk to a lot of people and you look, what are the constraints to growth? What are the root causes of those constraints? And then what do you do to tackle those root causes of those constraints? So if the energy crisis is looming, and already 5 years ago with Americans, we realized that there is a gap, there's going to be a problem in Kosovo. Because there's old power plants, there's increasing demand, there's more businesses and more people spending more, buying air conditionings, buying stuff, buying, and there's just, who's going to produce this electricity? Kosovo A is old, so this was why MCC was focused on energy. But then you look at what are the root causes. Root causes are, well, then you see like a lack of generation, but on the generation side, there are big elephants and we're like small ants, so we don't want to get into the whole big discussions about Kosovo's power plants, coal, this and that. But on the demand side, Kosovo, 70% of our electricity is used by households. And we actually had a very inefficient housing stock, like houses across Kosovo which have no insulation, like red bricks, or they put very nice fancy windows, but the roofing is awful. Buildings which simply do not pass even the minimal energy efficiency levels. So this is where we focused. Over 1,000 houses, as we speak, in Kosovo are being retrofitted with energy efficiency measures, subsidized through our foundation with the help of MCC. Second thing we noticed there is 90% of all the staff in energy sector are like men, 91% in public and private. So that was another thing that we tried to tackle, not only tick the boxes of gender inclusion, but actually ensure that we provide some sort of integrated, holistic view of how to get women into the energy sector. Well, mind you, there's a lot of minors, but still, like, the gap is even bigger than the other parts of the economy. So we really, we try to do a combination of both inspiring long-term investments, as well as short-term impactful engagements. We gave scholarships. 26 women of Kosovo were sent to the United States to study only STEM. Not lawyers, I did social anthropology, social sciences, so it's completely useless, but things that actually matter for the industry. Things that matter for the subjects like power plant management, wind park design, solar cell production. They came back. I'm happy to report that out of 26 women which were graduated, 26 of them are now working in Kosovo in energy sector. There is such a great demand in energy sector for experts, for engineers. We also added 200 internship opportunities for women. All of them were grabbed. All of them are working. Retention rate is 33%. 33% of the girls working, getting internship from us, remained in their jobs because they were, considered as valuable. And we also gave grants to women-owned businesses, solar fields, solar panels, other types of heat pumps to help them lower the electricity bill, especially in time of pandemic when businesses were struggling. That contribution was very valuable. Almost 400 women-owned businesses. I didn't even know there were so many, Frank. That was my big shock that there are a lot of women who are interested in energy, a lot of women who are doing business, and they need helping hand to ensure equal playing field for all. So this is a little bit about our program. And again, I'm not having a coherent speech here, but I just want to give you some images of past, present engagements. With MCC, obviously now the government of Kosovo, unrelated to us, is negotiating on a new package of support, compact. I think there's going to be an interesting project of battery storage, and ensuring that those batteries, asi invertor të mlaj, mega, 300 kusur megawatt, are filled when the electricity is cheap, or they're filled with wind, when nobody needs that electricity, and then you can spend that electricity during the peak hours when it's more expensive to buy it in the spot market. So quite interesting development there, and there's going to be more projects on women in energy. Because we did such a great job on this side, they're expanding that program, and I heard Minister Zanoli, about 20 million euros will be available next 4 or 5 years for better workforce development as well as gender inclusion in the workforce, especially in the energy sector. So I think I'm approaching the end. 18 minutes, I can talk really incessantly for a very long time, but I'm being told the sign. And I want to go back to the first photo. First photo is a refugee camp in '99. And that boy in the middle there, they're waiting to buy bread, in North Albania. Really, people who have no possibility to even dare anymore, because in the hopeless, wretched situation of no hope, how can you dare waiting in line for bread when half of your village has been massacred just last week? But the boy in the middle there, that little boy pushing, there, that boy, that's this man, Petrit, one of the foremost contemporary artists of Europe today. He has in Kamel Manur now exhibition on 7th of June, one of the top Parisian exhibitions. He is fronted across New York Times, all the media. Last year, during the COVID, he launched in Palazzo de Cristal in Madrid a big show in a country that doesn't recognize Kosovo. Enormous flowers, maybe some of them you have seen at the National Library. And he married Alvaro Urbano in Madrid, creating enormous multivocal symbolism of both personal connection and daring to imagine more than anybody else dared in that line of bread in '99. And yet, here he is today, and in a few months, again, I said in Manifesta, showing what's the most beautiful part of Kosovo. Now, I tell you, I am not the person who dares as much. And I would like to, really all of you, to think of how, and I titled the title, I said not daring, because I do think there's a value of not daring, on doing data research, on seeing what are the best options and best ways to get the best solutions. But every now and then, you do have to dare. So on this note, I would like to thank you very much for your participation. The organizers, RIT, you are doing a very good job on relaunching and bringing spark to ideas that are worth discussing. So thank you very much.